Alright guys, this is another video exploring whether or not solar is worth it in 2025. In APS in Arizona specifically. So we're actually going to use ChatGPT for this one because I thought it would be fun to use ChatGPT, and also I think ChatGPT does a great job articulating a lot of the nuances with solar and understanding what's going on. So the question that I posed was, if I have solar on my house, what is the average amount of power that I am producing that I'll actually end up using in comparison to what I'll be pushing back to the grid? Because you guys have to understand, not every kilowatt hour of every single minute of every single day that system's producing am I going to use. In fact, our usage goes in waves, right? It goes ups and downs all throughout the day, but our production with that solar system stays relatively the same all day long, right? And so there's going to be minutes all throughout the day that we're pushing those kilowatt hours back. And in fact, according to ChatGPT, and this is actually the same information that I've also found, is that only 30 to 40% of the production of your system are you immediately using as it's being generated. Whereas the other 60 to 70% of your electricity is being exported to the grid, right? And so the reason why that matters so much is because that additional 60 to 70% that we're not consuming, we're not getting a kilowatt hour for a kilowatt hour credit. We're only getting 6.8 cents per kilowatt hour, right? So what that means is I'm actually losing money, about half the value of that kilowatt hour, for every kilowatt hour I push back to the grid. So you'll get this nuance where solar salespeople, solar companies will tell you, hey, we're doing a 100% offset. What an offset is say you use 1 kilowatt hour. If I produce 1 kilowatt hour, that's a 100% offset, right? But let's say you're using 1,000 kilowatt hours, right? And I tell you I'm going to produce 1,000 kilowatt hours. That's a 100% offset. However, it's not really, because I'm only going to end up using 300 of those kilowatt hours that I'm actually producing from that 1,000 kilowatt hours. And the other 600, 700, I'm going to push that back to the grid, but I'm only going to get half the value for it, right? So really, if you break it down, if I'm getting 300 true kilowatt hours, and then the other 700 I'm only getting half, that means I'm only getting 350 kilowatt hours worth. I'm really only walking away with 650, 700 kilowatt hours at most, meaning 100% offset is 30% less, 35% less than what I truly need. And as you could think, that's a pretty big problem. And I think that's one of the biggest problems contributing to why solar doesn't make sense today for a lot of people, especially when it's done the way that we've been doing it for the last decade. You know, if we did solar 10 years ago, when the RCP was 12.9 cents per kilowatt hour, that's a kilowatt hour for kilowatt hour credit. That's great. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's a 1-for-1 kilowatt hour. The value was there. That's not the case anymore, right? And so if you guys are trying to figure out more about if solar is worth it or not, I'm creating an entire series explaining to you guys exactly why solar is different today than it was a decade ago, what you can actually do to help save money and actually make it make sense. And I'm going to go over the wrong ways to do it and why a lot of people aren't having a great experience with solar in 2025 or even over the last 5-6 years. I mean, this is not brand new. Even in 2021, we were at 9.4 cents. That's still less than the value, right? So if I'm at 100% offset, I'm not really offsetting 100%. So if you guys want to learn more about this, you guys want to learn more about battery power, you want to learn more about solar energy, the utility company, utility rates, how it all works together, and if solar is even worth it, click the video below and continue to learn more with me.